Well, who dat to everyone in the Who Dat Nation. Welcome to the Dome Patrol podcast here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and yes, ladies and gentlemen of the Who Dat Nation, our season is over. It has come to an end. But all is not lost. It's not the end of the world. The New Orleans Saints have completed the 2021 NFL football season with a record of 9-8 and just barely missing the playoffs. I mean, barely. And it's all right. It's okay. A lot can be said about this season, which we're going to cover today. This is indeed the 2021 football season, well, the New Orleans Saints football season in review. And we're just going to put a nice, shiny little bow on this season and go through everything that has transpired throughout the year. Starting with the draft, starting all the way down to last week when we defeated the Atlanta Falcons. And like I was starting off to say, a lot can be said about this season. We can go to the lows. I mean, we've had more lows than the law allow. And we can go with the highs and look towards the future and see what we can build on. There's a lot here. There's a lot to dissect in this season. And I think overall it's positive. And honestly, this was the season the Saints, dare I say, needed. As far as we're rebuilding, or if we weren't planning on rebuilding, we are now. And we don't have a first ballot Hall of Famer as our quarterback for the first time in about 16 years. So we're starting behind the 8 ball there. All that was going on with the quarterback competitions, the injuries, the surgeries, COVID, being displaced. But we're going to break all that down. And let's start with the draft. All right. Now the draft started off promising. I had encouragement with the draft, but it didn't really go the way I was hoping and praying it did. But it was a decent draft nonetheless. Now, Saints started off first round pick, number 28. The Saints selected Peyton Turner, defensive end from Houston. And I didn't follow him in college, didn't know anything about him. Did a little research on him. Like, oh, this dude is good. He's athletic, big, strong, fast, everything you want in a defensive end. But the knock on him was he gets injured. He stayed hurt a lot. But whatever. I'm kind of used to that. Same thing with Marcus Davenport. Same intangibles. They're pretty much the same player. I mean, literally. They when they're on the field, they're productive. But it's them getting on the field. When Marcus Davenport is on the field, look at the difference in a Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan struggled for the majority of this season because he didn't have Marcus Davenport for the majority of this season. Because Marcus Davenport deserves a double team because he's so strong and fast. So you have to double him. And that leaves Cam Jordan one-on-one on the end. And Cam Jordan, being the savvy veteran, can get around that, more often than not. And so when he's not in the game, that means Cam Jordan requires that double team. And you've seen it throughout the season. And you've definitely seen it at the end of the season in the last, 3 or 4 games when Cam Jordan just went ballistic because he had his counterpart. But you had a Peyton Turner who you drafted in hopes of getting a rotation going, to whereas you can keep Davenport healthy at the same time keeping Turner healthy because they're alternating. You know, they're not on the field all the time. But it just didn't work out because they both were injured. But I'm encouraged by that pick. In the second round, the Saints drafted Pete Warner, and a linebacker from Ohio State, another Ohio State defensive player. Our whole defense. I would say 70% of our defense is a Buckeye. I mean, just look at the secondary. You have Marcus Lattimore, Malcolm Jenkins, Bradley Roby. Who else? It was somebody else. It's a couple of more, but they're all Ohio State, man. I mean, Michael Thomas is Ohio State. I mean, everybody. I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know if Sean Payton is he didn't go to Ohio State, so I don't know I don't know who was an alumni on the staff who has to throw Ohio State a bone, but the Saints do it. But Pete Warner, even though he didn't set the world on fire, you know what I mean, he's no Micah Parsons, but he is good. I liked what I saw out of Pete Warner. Also a good pick. Our third round pick was even better. Saints drafted Paulson Adebo, cornerback out of Stanford. Paulson Adebo, he had his ups and his downs. He's a rookie. I mean, they had him out there. You also got to remember he was on the island for most of this season. It was just him and the number 2 receiver, because we know Marcus Lattimore took the 1. Yeah, he got cooked a couple of times. But what I love about Paulson Adebo, whatever happened, if he got burnt on a play, he has a short memory. It doesn't linger. You know how some players, they'll get a touchdown thrown on them, or you know, they get juked at the line or something like that, and that's in their mind for the rest of the game. They can't get it, they can't shake it, and they're done. They're like, mentally they're done. He showed a lot of maturity, how he stayed focused, stayed active. Eventually, I think he had when I go over the stats, he had a few interceptions this season, and he actually broke up some pass plays, and he's young. So I'm very encouraged, because that means it's only going to get better for him. And I'm excited for that secondary with him and Lattimore back there. Chef's kiss. I'm impressed with him. He had a great season for a rookie cornerback, especially in that secondary. In the 4th round, Saints drafted a quarterback, and they drafted Ian Book from Notre Dame. And Ian Book, I was impressed. I see, Notre Dame games come on TV all the time, so you got a chance to see him every now and then. And I saw him, and he reminded me a lot of Russell Wilson, of a Drew Brees, probably because of his height, because he's short for a prototypical quarterback. He's a little mobile. He has some good accuracy. Decent quarterback. Decent. And I think under Sean Payton, he only get better. Unfortunately, the plan was he wasn't supposed to play this season, obviously, because for 16 out of the 17 games this season, he was in a hoodie. He was in street clothes on the sideline. No, I'm like 15 of the 17, because one, he was they had to make him the backup because of COVID issues, but he only touched the field once, and man, what a game to get thrown into the lion's den. He was thrown into the fire like one of the 3 Hebrew boys for all my Sunday school attendees. He had to go out on the field on national television, Monday Night Football, against a Miami Dolphins team who was on a roll, who had won 6 in a row up to that point, and he's out there with 22 starters out in that game because of COVID. And that's the reason he was in the game, because the rest of the quarterbacks contracted COVID. And so he was he was thrust into that spotlight on Monday night. And look, did he stake up the plays? Yes, but I can't fault him for that. He wasn't expecting to play that game. Nobody expected him to play that game. Nobody expected him to play this season. But he was thrown out there. But I was impressed with him because he was under duress the whole game. He kept his poise. He couldn't get anything going, of course. But, I respect him from going out there, taking his licks. God bless him. God bless him. Saints in the 6th round, they drafted an offensive tackle, London Young from Kentucky. And in the 7th round, Quaney Brown, wide receiver from South Alabama. And I was impressed with him in his highlights from college. Didn't see him on the field this season. I don't know why, but whatever. It is what it is at this point. But that was your 6 picks in the draft. And it was overall, I say that draft was about a B-, in hindsight. Even at the time, I thought it was a pretty decent draft. Because they was addressing needs. And so season started off pretty good. It was pretty promising, I felt. Now, we get to around the start of training camp. We get to the start of training camp, and right before training camp, we get the news. Well, before all that, I'm sorry. Even before the draft, we knew going into this season, this would be the first season since 2005 without our long-time first ballot Super Bowl champion, record-breaking quarterback Drew Brees on the roster. We knew this going in. He announced his retirement in March, so he went off into the sunset after, he went out on his shield. I'll give him that. In that playoff game against Tampa, where he had about 50 broken ribs and a punctured lung, a foot up his behind, and he was just broken up, man. But he went out on his shield, and I respect it. I think that that's how a soldier's supposed to go out, huh? he went out in a blaze of glory. But so right off the bat, we knew as an organization, and this was the first time in, like I said, 16 years, we don't have a quarterback. And not just don't have a quarterback. Just think of it. We had one of the most elite quarterbacks in NFL history. Not currently playing, history. Drew Brees is one of the best quarterbacks to ever be behind center. Now, yes, you could throw up the Joe Montanas, the Terry Bradshaws, Tom Brady, of course, Aaron Rodgers, the Johnny Unitas, the Dan Marinos, and so on and so forth. Drew Brees is in there. Yeah, he walked away with 1 Super Bowl. Should have been about 3. And that's the one thing that just haunts me. That we never took advantage of the fact that we had a Hall of Fame quarterback in his prime, when he was in his prime. We get to the latter part of his career, and it was starting to taper off. Now, regular season wise, yeah, he was still Drew Brees, but it was the hang-ups in the playoffs where it really got like, you, you know what I'm saying? But it was time. It was time. Me personally, I thought he should have probably walked away 2 years earlier, but you know, he's a competitive. He wanted to go out the way he wanted to go out, and that I'm pretty sure he didn't want to go out like that, because that was an embarrassing game for him, and I hate that was his last game. But it is what it is. But we knew this going into the season. So what we gonna do? Who we gonna start at quarterback? On the roster, we had Jameis Winston, we have Taysom Hill, we have Trevor Siemian, and we just drafted Ian Book. So we have 4 quarterbacks. Out of those 4, is that the starter? Is the starter in the room? Or are you going to make a move for somebody like a Russell Wilson who's unhappy in Seattle? Or Deshaun Watson who wants out of Houston despite all the accusations behind him? Or Aaron Rodgers who at the time wanted out of Green Bay? So what were we going to do to fill that void? Well, Sean Payton said, well, we're our quarterback of the future is in the room. So it's out of those 4. Well, let's go process of elimination. We know that it's not going to be Ian Book. Ian Book would have had to come out like a Joe Burrow. He'll have to come out like a Kyler Murray. That's the only way he would have walked in with a starting position on these New Orleans Saints team. And so that killed that. Then you go to Trevor Siemian. That's not going to happen. So that leaves 2. You have Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. So you're going into this training camp, into the off-season workouts with a quarterback competition. All right. Me personally, throughout the whole process, I felt it was a no-brainer. Still feel it to this day. Jameis Winston. There's no point in having a quarterback controversy or a quarterback competition because Jameis Winston, a former first overall pick in the draft, a Heisman Trophy winner, a national champion in college, threw for 5,000 yards a couple of years ago, threw for the most touchdowns in the league a couple of years ago. Yeah, and here it go. I can already hear it through the speaker here. Hey, he also threw for the most intercepts. Okay. Okay, yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Sure. And I mean, that's fine. That's fine. But look at his other statistics. When people throw that out there, it's like that's the only number associated with Jameis Winston. In that season, Jameis Winston threw for over 5,000 yards, over 30 touchdowns. But he threw 30 intercepts. Yeah, it's an ugly number. It's horrible. That's a horrible number. But I think I think the good outweighs the bad there. Yeah, they were a 79 team, but it wasn't all him. It wasn't all him. But I digress. Taysom Hill, I always felt, was not a starting quarterback. Y'all done heard me say it. I done preached it from the mountaintop. He's not a quarterback. He's a football player. So I never saw him as a quarterback. So it should have been a no-brainer. But we go in with this competition. All right, right before the start of training camp, we get news that Michael Thomas is going to have ankle surgery. So now the Who Dat Nation scratching their head is like, what? Wait, ankle surgery? His ankle was hurt last season. He had all off season. What happened? Why? What is a second surgery to repair something or to get some bone spurts out from the previous surgery from the beginning of the year? Because I vividly remember, I don't know who it was though, but the report was probably to the day, a year to the day, in January of 2021, after the season was over, it was stated Michael Thomas would need surgery on that ankle. And I just assumed that he was going to get it right then and there and be ready for training camp. Well, nope. He got it, 2 weeks before training camp. So now you're going in with a quarterback competition. Your number one receiver is out. And so now you left with a receiving core full of practice squad players. Now, as far as the practice squad receiving core, I don't fault them. As much as I was beating up on them all season, I don't fault them. I fault the organization. I fault the New Orleans Saints for that. Because even if you have Michael Thomas, you didn't have nothing else. There was nothing else out there that was a threat to Michael Thomas. And that's part of Michael Thomas' problem. Part of Michael Thomas' problem is there's nobody on that roster that can push him. Nobody in that wide receiver room that's going to threaten Michael Thomas' job as the starting receiver on the New Orleans Saints. Nobody. Nobody's pushing him. And so in his mind, he's like, y'all need me. And he got him. And it's the truth. He got him. But this was crazy in the fact that he waited so late, allegedly didn't have any communication with the team, and didn't tell anybody, whatever. So that's that. All right, we get through training camp. We get into the preseason. In the preseason, this is when we have our preseason competition. And it's pretty much determined early on who the starting quarterback was. We saw that by the second game. It's Jameis. By the second game, you knew Jameis got it. So, all right, cool. And that was that. Because the Saints didn't get a third. Because, it went from 4 preseason games to 3 with the addition of an extra game during the season. So every team gets 3 preseason games. Well, unfortunately for the New Orleans Saints, they only got 2. And I think a lot of people forgot about that when you think about all what the Saints went through this season. Saints had 2 on their scheduled third one, August the 29th, or was it the 28th? August the 28th of 2021. Well, there was a hurricane bearing down on New Orleans, which canceled their preseason game. The hurricane hits New Orleans, the team evacuates, and New Orleans gets devastated by yet another hurricane. And so, with all that going on, Saints are now displaced, with the season starting in 1 week. They have no home stadium. The dome, it's damaged. Their homes are damaged, yet they're in Dallas. So they evacuated to Dallas to practice. Now, unfortunately, ironically, the first game of the season was a home game against the Green Bay Packers in the Caesars Superdome. Well, we can't have that. So the NFL picked Jacksonville as their quote-unquote home opener. So Saints left Dallas, traveled all the way to Florida, Jacksonville to be more specific, and played the Green Bay Packers. They destroyed them. The Saints destroyed the current number 1 seed in the playoffs, the Green Bay Packers. And if this was a sign of things to come, the season looked hopeful. It looked like, okay, here we go. Everybody going through all this, especially here in New Orleans, the New Orleans area. We all going through so much with the storm. Insurance companies giving you the runaround. contract is giving you the runaround, FEMA giving you the runaround, at least you can lean on the Saints. And they delivered. They gave us a much needed 3-hour relief in that game. It was a beautiful game. Jameis Winston looked good. Defense looked outstanding. Gave you hope for the rest of the season. They left there, went all the way back to Houston to get ready for their other game against Carolina. So at this point, now they got to travel all the way to Carolina now to play the Panthers, where the Panthers monkey stomped the Saints. They really mollywopped. Now, in the midst of all that, the Saints entire assistant coaching staff contracted COVID. So the Saints had no assistant coaches in that game. They had nothing in that game. They had the rookie. They had Ian Book calling out the protections and making sure that the right rotation or the right packages were being thrown out there on the field. You know, the protection plans and all that stuff. That was on him. Now, in the midst of that, in between those two games, the Superdome caught on fire. The Superdome caught on fire. The roof caught on fire. And now you're like, oh my God, what is this? Is this an omen? Is this a sign of things to come? Because now Saints had to leave Carolina after getting monkey stomped and go all the way back to Dallas, practice again, go all the way up to New England and play the New England Patriots, where they squashed the Patriots. All right. Now you get the okay to return home. Saints returned home finally in week 4, where they took on the New York Giants, finally in front of their home crowd and their home stadium. People are looking for something to be uplifted about down here, and the Saints lose to the Giants in overtime. One of the most embarrassing losses of this season. It was horrible. I really, between this game and a couple of others later on this schedule, is why the Saints are not playing this weekend. Is why they are not in the playoffs right now. Especially this one. You look at this one and you're like, oh my God, there's no reason you're supposed to lose to the Giants. The Giants. But they did redeem themselves the next week. Went to Washington, defeated the Washington football team. Had an early bye, which they needed. They honestly needed it at that time. With all that was going on, with the being displaced, still dealing with the COVID games, you know, you win one, lose one, win one, lose one type deal. You needed to recalibrate, and they did. After the bye, they went up to Seattle, played the Seahawks, beat the Seahawks on Monday night. Was it Monday Night Football? Or was it Sunday Night Football? I know it was a primetime, if I'm not mistaken. But they won. And it was without Russell Wilson. I remember that much. I believe it was Geno Smith. And the Saints did come out victorious. That leads us to the game that changed everything for the New Orleans Saints. Week 8, Halloween night. The New Orleans Saints took on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Superdome. We won the game. We won the battle, but we lost the war because despite the fact of us coming out with a victory, we lost our starting quarterback in Jameis Winston, and he tore his ACL, and it was just like when he went down immediately, it was all the air just sucked out of the Who Dat Nation, at least for some of us. Some was cheering because they wanted Taysom Hill as the quarterback, but The majority, those with sense, they they were upset. Um, Now Trevor Siemian comes in because Taysom Hill was hurt, so Taysom Hill couldn't come in as the quarterback. So Trevor Siemian had mop up duty, and he did. He had a decent game to finish it out. Saints win the game. Whew, that leads us to this week 9 to week 13 just debacle. Saints managed to lose 5 games in a row. This is the first time under Sean Payton they went on a 5-game lose streak, and it was ugly. It wasn't even close. It was it was like, what? First and foremost, you lose to Atlanta. The last second field goal. You lose to Tennessee, which the score was closer than what the game actually looked like. They only lost by a point. With 2 points. Philly, embarrassing. That was embarrassing. That was the worst loss of the season. It was 40-29. It was embarrassing. Philly just ran clean over the Saints, and they ran over them last year when they played them. I don't know what it is about Philly. I don't know what it is. Philly just got our number. Just like we have Tampa number, Philly got our number. Then Buffalo on Thanksgiving night. That was embarrassing. I'm just, we went. Well, we didn't go to Dallas. Dallas came here, beat us. That was a little more encouraging. But you had not Trevor. You had Taysom Hill as your starting quarterback, and Taysom Hill threw 4 picks, 4 intercepts in that game. He looked like trash, and it was like. Now, granted, he hurt his finger. He had a hurt finger on his throwing hand. I'll excuse some of that, but I don't even know. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to begin to discuss the disgust that I have about that game. But we bounced back. Finally, we bounced back. We defeat the Jets. Once again, we defeat Tampa, shut them out. We lose to Miami because of the COVID. We lost 22 different players due to COVID. Had to start Ian Book. It was but ugly. We lost 20-3. It was bad. But the last 2 games of the season, we defeat Carolina, and as we all know, last week we defeat the Atlanta Falcons, bringing our record to a 9-8 record, which is shocking when you go through all that. When you look at all that transpired throughout this season, and that I went through all that just to make that point. How these people had a winning record. Does that not register? Because it's still, I have to say it a few times throughout this whole week since the Atlanta game. Like, we finished with a winning record. How? How? I just ran through the games. How did we do this? This is where I want to transition a little bit and talk about Sean Payton. This is where I want to make my case for Sean Payton, even though I know it's not going to happen. I don't even think he's going to be in a running for it, but he deserves consideration for Coach of the Year. Y'all heard everything I just talked about, starting with the draft up to last week. All that happened with this team, every little thing. And I know it's some things that I even missed in there, but it was so much because I didn't even get to the other injuries. You know, we didn't have Alvin Kamara for 5 games in that stretch. I think it was from Tampa all the way to Buffalo. I think it was. We didn't have Alvin Kamara, who is our offense, who is our whole offense. You know, I didn't even touch on that yet. this team managed to finish with a 9-8 record and almost made the playoffs if it wasn't for the 49ers who beat the Rams, who had a 17-point lead on the 49ers, but managed to mess that up and because we were going to the playoffs. But he deserves, man, to keep this team together, to keep this team fighting from being displaced, from being injury ridden, COVID ridden. He was even out. I forgot to mention that part. Sean Payton caught COVID, and that was the Tampa game. He was out. And, he went through 4 different quarterbacks this season. 4. You started off with Jameis. You had Trevor Siemian in there. He stunk it up so bad. Taysom Hill got in there. He wasn't too much better. They get COVID. You put in a rookie. Man. Just to go back to Taysom Hill. Then to lose him in the Atlanta game and go back to Trevor Siemian. He went through all that and finished at 9-8. Kudos, man. That's I gotta give him a standing O. I'm proud of this team. Honest to God, I am proud of this team. And if you're not, if you still sucking on a lemon because we're not in the playoffs, get over yourself, man. This team gave it their all. There was a couple of games in there, of course, here and there, where the Saints could have played better. The effort wasn't quite there. But overall, for 18 weeks, they were great. They were great. I can't get mad at them. Defense was great. If I'm grading the whole season, which I grade at, I like to grade them after every game. If I'm grading the whole season, Saints gets a B-. They get a B- because they had every excuse to just forget about it, especially when they went on that 5-game losing streak. They should have just said, forget it. They should have just said, it's over. They were 5-7 at that point, and it was like, well, there's no way, because that's what I was saying. Hey, you kiss playoffs goodbye. That ain't happening, But what did they do the next 5 games? They only go 4-1. I mean, no biggie, and did it in dominating fashion. I'm so impressed with them, bro. I'm so happy that they fought, man. That's all you can ever ask for. You look at the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, if you look at their record, they look like dog manure. But overall, they fought in every game. They was in every single game they was in. Every single one. And they fought. And I was impressed with them, honestly. Glad we didn't play them. They were scary, man. That was a scary team. But the Saints, going into this offseason, we have a lot of question marks. We have a lot of what are we gonna do now? What can we do now? But before we get into next season and how we're gonna get, some questions answered, some holes filled, let's go over the stats of the New Orleans Saints this season, the season-ending stats, and they're not pretty. They're not pretty by no stretch of the imagination. But I mean, what can you do? Team leaders of the 2021 regular season passing yardage. We have Jameis Winston. He was the team leader with 1,170 yards passing. Rushing, of course, it was Alvin Kamara. He had 898 yards. Receiving, our leading receiver yardage wise was Marquez Callaway with 698, and quite frankly, I'm shocked it was that high. Our leading tackler was Demario Davis, no surprise, with 105. Interceptions is P.J. Williams. Yes, him. P.J. Williams had 3 intercepts this season. Team. Team. Saints. Total points. Total points per game. Scoring wise. Saints averaged 21.4. Their opponents averaged 19.7. Total points. Saints scored 364 points this season. Our opponents scored 335. Total touchdowns scored. Saints scored 43 touchdowns this year. Our opponents scored 35. Total first downs. Saints had 307 first downs to our opponents 304. Rushing first downs. Saints had 111 rushing first downs. To our opponents 84 rushing first downs. Passing. Saints passed for 29 first downs. Our opponents passed for 35. Third down efficiency. Saints were 35%. They were 78 of 220 third down conversions. Our opponents were 37%. They were 89 out of 240. On fourth downs, Saints were 52%. They were 11 of 21. Our opponents were 42%. 9 of 21. Yeah. I wanted to go. I lost it just that quick. Oh, there we go. Penalties. Saints total penalties. They had 98 penalties for 811 yards. Our opponents had 89 penalties for 761 yards. Time of possession. Saints won the time of possession. With 30 minutes and 37 seconds to our opponents 29-40. I was looking for our total turnovers. I lost it. I lost it, just like I lost my mind. But anyways, it doesn't matter. Not important. Going into this next season, in 2022, Saints have a lot of question marks. And quite frankly, it all starts with salary cap. Let's just go straight into that. With all our stuff that's going on, we need help in receivers. We need help with offensive linemen. We need help with quarterback. However you want to go with it. Wherever you want to start at, that's fine. Here's the problem. Saints are 71 million over the cap. You heard me correctly. 71 million. And that's according to our friends over at spottrack.com. We are going to be in trouble. You know how it was last season when we were over the cap so much? This trumps that by I don't even know. This is horrible because I think we was only like 35, 40 over the cap last season. This is even doubles that. Now, our big money, this is where the money is going. If you need to question where it's going. Marcus Lattimore is the highest paid person on this team. His base salary is $9 million. Signing bonus, $1.5 million. Roster bonus, $15 million. And a restrictive bonus of $1.9 million. His cap hit is $27.4 million. Michael Thomas is next. Now, his base salary is the highest by far. He's going to make $15.3 million with a $4 million signing bonus and a measly $250,000 on the roster bonus. I mean, he could throw a bone with that. Like, y'all keep that. Go ahead. Keep that. Nah, I doubt it. And a $200,000 workout bonus. Seriously? But his cap hit is 24.7. Ryan Ramczyk, his base salary is $10.5 million with a $3.8 million signing bonus and a $1 million roster bonus, along with I'm sorry, I was reading the wrong one. That is Cam Jordan. Ryan Ramczyk, yeah, he's 10.5 base salary, 3.8 signing bonus, 8.7 roster bonus, which makes his cap hit $23 million. Cam Jordan is 13.6 base salary, a signing bonus of 3.1, and a roster bonus of $1 million, and a workout bonus of $100,000, bringing his cap hit to 22.8. Andrus Peat, who's still in money, $10.8 million base salary, 2.6 signing bonus, and his cap hit is 15.3. Alvin Kamara, who was underpaid, $5.5 million base salary, $3 million signing bonus, $6 million roster bonus, and he counts 14.5 against the cap. After that, you have David Onyemata with $7.5 million base salary and a $1 million roster bonus. Now, I ain't gonna go through them all because we'll be here till next Thursday. But there's a well, no, this is the one I wanted to get to because this is the one that confuses a lot of people, and quite honestly, it confuses me. We see that contract that Taysom Hill got, right? And you're like, man, Taysom Hill got $100 million contract. No, it's not really. It's really not. His base salary is $1.1 million. His signing bonus is $2.2 million. His roster bonus is $9 million. He counts 12.3 against the cap. It's a cap friendly, the way they described it, a cap friendly deal that he signed to kind of stretch out his money. That's why his roster bonus is high as a kite. It's because he's getting a base salary of 1.1, but he's getting a $9 million roster bonus. It's like, man, what is this? What? That's crazy to me. That is crazy to me. Now, in this draft, because their draft cap is at a certain whatever, their first round pick, which we're picking at 18 this season, and if we was to draft at that spot, the base salary would be $700,000 to that player, with a $2.1 million roster bonus. So, it's me personally, I would trade and get more picks for that. Oh, you can even trade up with that pick. They're actually in a good spot at 18. So they can do a lot of things with that pick. Now, this is where it gets crazy. This is where you kind of scratch your head where all that money is going. And that is the dead money, the dead cap. Money that's going to players that aren't on the roster, but still on the books, getting paid from the New Orleans Saints. Number one, of course, is Drew Brees. Drew Brees, even though he hadn't took a snap for the New Orleans Saints in over a year, has an $11.5 million bonus he's set to receive this season. Well, next season in 2022. And Latavius Murray, who's currently on the Baltimore Ravens, he is set to get $850,000. Mark Ingram, who is I don't think he will be on the team next season, but he will get a $125,000 check from the Saints. And all the other ones are like 15,000 and stuff like that. Now there's one on here that is completely embarrassing. I don't even know why he's still on there. And that is Bryce Thompson, who is the cornerback. He's not even on the team. But he has a cap hit of $667. That's actually on the book. I can pay him that. They couldn't just scrape that from the book. Just give him that and go about his business. I mean, Mike Brown, the guard, they're no longer there. He's due $1,667. Just pay them people that, man. That's ridiculous. Malcolm Roach, the defensive end, $3,000. Give him the money. Just give him that. That's crazy to me. Get that off the books. That's a total of $12.5 million in dead money. That's just wrapped up in players that's not even on your team. In some cases, on other teams. I mean, that's still not going to get you under the cap. But, I mean, it's still kind of like, wow, bro. But, yeah, it really comes down to who can you keep and who's probably going to kick rocks. We all know. And I'm running a little long, so I'm trying to hurry this up. This is who we know for certain are free agents for the Saints. You have Thomas. You have Teron Armstead, who they already said he's going to be hitting the free agent market, seeing what he can get. Saints just can't afford him. They can't afford him. And at this point, you kind of don't care if he leave or stay. I mean, as much as he's essential, I mean, he's staying hurt. He's not on he's on the injury reserve list more than he's on the game time starting roster. And he's becoming a liability. And as good as he is, he's a victim of his own success because he's going to demand a high paycheck that, quite frankly, the Saints can't afford. Marcus Williams, who was franchised last season, doubt if they franchise him again. But Marcus Williams is a real good player. And Marcus Williams, I would hate to see go, but it looks like he will. Because can't afford him. Can't afford him. Jameis Winston, he was just on a 1-year deal. Do we bring Jameis back? I'll touch in on that after this. PJ Williams, who moved to safety and looks like he found his niche. He found his spot. But he's going to want money. He's going to want to get paid. And I don't think that's going to work out too good. Quan Alexander, like him, love him. Don't think he's going to stay. Dwayne Washington, running back, he'll probably leave. Ty Montgomery probably's gone. Jeff Heath, Trevor Siemian, bye. Jalen Holmes, Traquan Smith, bye. Garrett Griffin, tight end, probably gone. Juwan Johnson, he's probably gone, but I would love to bring him back. I think he is another essential piece to our offense. He just wasn't used as much. Shy Tuttle, defensive tackle, I would like to see him come back, but I don't think it's going to happen. Carl Granderson, another one, hate to see go. Devontae Harris, or Hardy, as he changed his name to, probably can convince him to stay, but I'm not holding my breath. And yeah, that's it. I'm sorry. But yes, yeah, they got a lot of essential pieces to this team that's probably going to walk out the door. And it's not because we don't want them. It's just because we just can't afford them. So at this point, now you faced with the question, well, how can we replace them? I don't think you can. Quan Alexander is a big piece to that defense. And don't believe me, ask Demario Davis. Because when Quan Alexander was hurt and he wasn't in there, you didn't hear Demario Davis' name. But once Quan Alexander got back, Demario Davis was free to do what he do, which led to an all-pro season. And so you kind of need that. You kind of need that. I don't know. You need that on your team, man. Yeah, I like Quan Alexander. I like all them players that I named. You know, I hate to see him go, but it's just impossible. We saw players last season leave that we didn't want to go. Look at Trey Henderson, defensive end. Did not want him to go because I knew he was going to shine somewhere else. And sure enough, he goes to Cincinnati, and I think he finished second in the lead in sacks. He's a terror, and he was doing that here, and I knew he was going to do that somewhere else. And I hated that he left, man, but couldn't afford him, you know. So I think we're going to be hit with that same sledgehammer this offseason. So there are a lot of question marks there. What do the Saints do? Who do they bring back? Me personally, bring back Jameis. I know for certain you need to bring back Jameis Winston. I know it's tempting. You want to go for Russell Wilson. You probably want to make a move for Deshaun Watson. Or, hey, anything's possible. Aaron Rodgers. All that's fine and good. But I can assure you this. Aaron Rodgers is going to want to get paid. Russell Wilson going to want to get paid. Deshaun Watson's going to want to get paid. We don't have it. Stay in your lane. And that's the crust of it right there. The bottom line is Saints can't afford them. And not to say that Jameis Winston is cheap or he's, I'm not trying to poo-poo on him, and I can't think of the term to say, but he's worth a lot more than what you can get for him. You can get playoff caliber quarterback play for little or nothing. You was getting that this season. He finished when he was on the field. He was 5-2. So that tells me if he would have finished out the remainder of this season, at the very least, the Saints probably would have ended with double-digit wins. They probably would have ended with a 11-6 record. That was my prediction. I thought the Saints would end with a 11-6 record, if not better. Because he was getting comfortable in his offense. You can tell he was comfortable. He had 14 touchdowns in 7 weeks. 14. If you don't think that's a lot, the Saints didn't score 14 touchdowns the rest of the season as far as throwing. So, look, and only threw 2 intercepts. So, yeah, you tell me. But the Saints schedule going into next season, we don't have the dates. We don't have, what part of the season they'll play these teams. But we do know the opponents. And this is how it's laid out. Now, we already know we play the Panthers twice. We play the Falcons twice. We play Buccaneers twice. That's a given. Those 6 games, home and away. So now, let's start with home. Playing in the Caesars Superdome next season, God spare, if no more hurricanes come through and the roof don't catch on fire. This is who the Saints will be playing in the Caesars Superdome. Los Angeles Rams. We owe them big time. We owe them for squandering this season for us. we got them in the dome. We have the Seattle Seahawks in the dome. Minnesota Vikings in the dome. Cincinnati Bengals, which ought to be an interesting game. The return of Joe Burrow to Louisiana, where he played his college ball, at least for that 1 year, and won the national championship with the LSU Tigers. He's coming back. Jamar Chase, Trey Henderson. They will be playing the Saints in the dome, along with the Baltimore Ravens and the Las Vegas Raiders. Away, Saints will be traveling this year to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers, the Browns, the Arizona Cardinals, the 49ers, who we owe big time for squandering our opportunity to get in the playoffs, and for it seems like the third time in a row for 3 straight years. I don't know why these people keep popping up on our schedule. I'm sick of seeing them, probably because they always beat us. But we will have to travel to the city of brotherly love to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Hopefully, prayerfully by then, we can figure out how to beat Jalen Hurts. Oh, man. But that's our schedule for the 2022 season. Oh boy, it's gonna be interesting, people. Very, very interesting. But yeah, the Saints, we know for a fact going into this season, Saints probably gonna keep these players. We know they're gonna keep Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram probably gonna come back. Marquez Callaway, Traquan Smith, Devontae Harris, or Hardy, Adam Thielen, and Juwan Johnson. Those are names that's pretty etched in stone that they probably going to bring back. When it goes to Traquan Smith is one of those players that, I mean, I don't know what to say. Honestly, God, I don't know what to say about that dude, because he is he shows you so much potential, but then he just shows you that he just not ready, and it's like his 6th season, 8th. I don't know how long he's been here, but it's getting to the point it's too long. So I don't know, man. This is gonna be a very, very entertaining offseason. I want to see more of the secondary. I hope we can hold on to our coaches as well. Another point I wanted to touch on. I hope that we can keep Chris Rashad as our secondaries coach. I hope we can keep Dennis Allen as our defensive coordinator. That's about it, because offensively, I mean, Pete Carmichael, you never hear Pete Carmichael's name. And the Saints have had the number 1 offense for a better part of a decade. And you never hear Pete Carmichael's name in consideration for a coaching position anywhere, because everybody and their mama know that it's Sean Payton's offense. Pete Carmichael's just there in name only. But whatever. But speaking of rankings, I wanted to show the rankings of the Saints defensively. Well, let's go offensively. Offensively, the Saints offense this season ranked dead last. They ranked last, 42nd in off. I mean, 42nd. That's really dead last, but 32nd in offense. Defensively, boy, I lost it that quick. Defensively, the Saints ranked 7th overall, which is great. Top 10 defense. We had a top 10 defense and couldn't do poo with it. Couldn't get into the playoffs. But, you know, it is what it is. We'll be all right. We're gonna bounce back. I think the Saints are primed to do something special this season, next season, and that's another point I wanted to talk on earlier about trying to speedball through this, but it doesn't matter at this point. You look at this season, you look at the Saints, and you look at all that transpired. This was a good year for the simple fact you can point out all the flaws. You got to see all the weakest links in this chain. You got to see it. You know, there wasn't any speculation or questions of, oh, maybe it's this, or maybe it's this player, but if it's that player that's really holding them back. No, you got to see it because at some point in time, that this particular player or this particular position had the spotlight on them because you had so many players injured, in and out of the roster, in and out of the lineup. You got to see it, you know. So now you can sit back and say, okay, where it wasn't the linebackers, or it wasn't, and I'm just throwing it out there. I ain't saying linebackers actually look good. Defense, don't have any problems with. But, yeah, it wasn't the whole offensive line. But when Andrus Peat went out, we couldn't run to this side no more. Or when we didn't have Ryan Ramczyk, the whole protection scheme broke down. Or we didn't have Alvin Kamara, we had no run game. You know what I'm saying? So it was pointed out clearly. And I think that's perfect if you're trying to put this team in a winning position. Even though, despite all that, you was in winning position. You was right there. And I'm excited, man. This is the first time I actually feel excited in a long time about going into an off season. I feel upbeat. I feel like we actually have a clear vision of the future because we went into this season not knowing what to expect without a Drew Brees-led New Orleans Saints team. And now we know. And now we know how to build, how we can work. We know that this isn't a high-powered offense like we had with Drew Brees. So we're going to have to work around that. We got a sample size of Jameis Winston when he was cooking. When Jameis was cooking, we got an idea of how this offense can work with him there. So it's a lot to build on, and it's going to take a lot of work. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of money, but you know, I got faith in Mickey Loomis. Every year he makes miracles. He is the greatest accountant on God's green earth. I don't know how he do it, but he finds a way to do it, and I'm not going to question it. I believe whoever on our free agent list, as far as our current players, they want to keep, they're going to find a way to keep them. Unless it's just too astronomical of a payday they're due, i.e. Armstead or what was the other one? Armstead and Marcus Williams. You know, I think those guys are probably gone for certain. I know for a fact. PJ Williams probably gone. You know, because they're gonna require high paydays, rightfully so. And so, you know, it's gonna be a little heartbreaking. Probably more than that. Probably about 80% of this list, to be honest with you, is gonna walk out the door. But hopefully we can still keep the core, you know, to keep this team vibrant and competitive. So, yeah, that's the season in review, people. At the end of the day, I'm proud of the New Orleans Saints this season. It could have been worse. it I've seen them worse. So in this week, in this year, the Saints have went from the worst team in the league, looking like the worst team in the league, to looking like the absolute best team in the league. We've seen that just this season. In a couple of games, man, they looked like a championship team when they played Green Bay. They looked like a championship defense when they shut out Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But they also looked like hot garbage when they lost to who that was, a Giants. When they lost to a Falcons team, when we lost to a Eagles team, they looked like hot garbage. But I mean, they kept pushing forward, man. 9-8. I'm not mad. So I'm proud of them. We will be taking a hiatus on the Dome Patrol podcast, of course, because the Saints are at home, so we're going home. And it was fun this season. To say this was the first season of this, I had fun. I had fun talking to y'all about the Saints, and we're gonna return. We're coming back next season rather, and better than ever, man. I was just cutting my teeth on this. Y'all know I'm a movie guy, so we've been talking a lot of movies, and I love football, and I love talking footballs. I'll talk football with y'all, and I've enjoyed it, and I'm gonna pop in the Dome Patrol podcast. We'll pop in every now and then, like around the draft, at the start of training camp, stuff like that. Whenever there's some big newsworthy stuff, I'm going to pop back in and we're going to discuss it and talk about it. So it's not the end. It's just a little nap time. We're going nap. We're going night. So I hope everybody enjoyed this season. Don't look at it bad. You know what I'm saying? Don't look at it like, man, this was the worst, man. Man, look, we ended the season with a victory. And that is weird because we haven't ended the season with a victory in a long time. So that alone is great. So everybody, y'all be safe out there. Y'all know these new variants of this virus is running wild. I know so many people, several people who have contracted it. Thank God it's not serious for them, as it was in the beginning of this pandemic. But who wants to be sick at all? I don't, and that's my thing. I'm not too much concerned with dying. I'm more concerned with just getting sick. I don't want to get sick at all. I don't want a runny nose. I don't want a scratchy throat. I don't want nothing. And so everybody be safe out there. Take the proper precautions so we can be here next season at the start of the Who Dat run to the Super Bowl, because we're going. We're going, people. They can kick rocks. I feel it now. So until next season, everybody keep screaming, Who Dat?